Too sexy for my shirt. Too sexy for my shirt. Welcome to MJ's podcast.
Lost it.
When it's awkward. Well, our vision for this podcast was originally set on motivation.
To go in and piggyback about what we were talking about in our little 9-minute promo video of our podcast with how people are going to see you how they truly want to see you and not who you really are, and they'll take that to what full extent they wish. We're going to talk about how we view each other, how I view you, how you view me, and how people view us and what they say.
Yeah.
And really dig into that and how we see it and how it affects us, who we are as a person. Okay, so after watching the video, bring a little inspiration. Did it bring somewhat amount of inspiration to make you follow your dreams, to become a lawyer or a judge?
No, just kidding. I'm just fucking around with you.
Way to bring some positivity into this podcast.
Well, the only way to bring positivity into the podcast is to get rid of the negative.
You're right. So let's just that.
Yeah.
Gosh, Brandon.
Well, it's inspirational. Yeah, I could do anything. I could go to prison for murder in right now.
That's not.
And but then 20 years later, like if it's been 20 years in prison, come out. Like you can do in prison law, and I feel like people in jail, like they were saying, they want them to come out better than what they came in before. Did that make sense?
Yes. Is that my dog?
Yeah.
Okay. Exactly. And right after we ended that video, you were talking about how Jelly Roll inspires you.
Yeah. His wife is a sex worker. Now she's good. And then bitch. And then
a sex worker.
Yeah, she was like an ex-sex worker.
Okay.
Sex worker, and Jelly Roll went to prison. I forgot what it was for, robbery. I don't know. But anyways, he came out, and then his music, people started connect with it, and now he's helping people, making millions into community, and the people judge him for being who he was before. Like, look at this pastor gospel. I think it's Pastor Steve. He murdered someone, and now look at him. He's successful. He goes to church.
Come here, baby.
Yeah, so in all reality, just like Miley Cyrus said, no matter how far it takes. Oh, how does the song go, The Climb? Ain't about how fast I get there. Ain't about what's waiting on the other side. No matter how long it takes, you're gonna reach that goal. You just gotta keep on going.
It's all about the climb.
It's all about the climb.
We're gonna input all these things. I hope you know that.
Yes. Yeah.
Make this a good.
Look, I include some Miley Cyrus into there.
We're including a lot of people in this.
Jelly Roll, honestly, Miley Cyrus.
I really like that. I like.
Well, Miley Cyrus used to be a pot smoking hillbilly doing drugs and shit,
yeah.
and then Jelly Roll, ex-con felon still, but like. Look at him. I mean, look at all these other
Jesse,
people.
the guy that we just watched, tried to rob a bank.
Yeah. Came out a better person.
Yep. And now here you are, and you're going to come out stronger than ever. I mean, you are already stronger than ever, but now you're going to go You're going to do what you want to do with your life, whether that is becoming a lawyer and a judge like you said you wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully it is.
It's MJ back at you with I've Lost It. I'm going to hand you over to Brandon.
Hey, you can add me on Instagram at real Shawn Cyrus. Just putting that out there. Co-host up in this bitch. Oh, excuse my language, because we're actually gonna dive right into the Lord Jesus Christ.
Yeah, we
Today, well, the first topic at least, we're gonna talk about one of my biggest pet peeves. This is how I'm gonna first start it off. Is when you go to church and they say, if you skip church for one Sunday or maybe 2 Sundays, and they say, "Where were you last weekend?" And well, first of all, it's none of your business, and second of all, last time I checked, God spoke to the people, the church, from every pastor I've heard, Catholic, whatever, I don't know, which Christian, all have said that the church is not the building, it is the people. So therefore, it's fine missing a Sunday. You can have a church on Monday. You can have church on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. There's no schedule. There's literally people that have church on Tuesdays. So basically, what we're going to talk about is how you can use God in your life, and by not like how do you use God in your life by not going to church, because all these people say you need to go to church in order to have God in your life. I mean, that's a lot of people have said that to me, at least.
honestly, I feel like we could really I feel like we could really go deep in to this right now. So I guess we're gonna do that. Me personally, I grew up in the church. I grew up ever since I could remember opening my eyes. I was going to church every Sunday. I was praying every night with my dad. I was reading, obviously going to Sunday school when I was in the church, but I never experienced any of that. I was just a Christian by uh, born into it Christian is what you could call it. And so I didn't actually understand any of it. I was going to church camp. I was a little Christian girl. Uh yeah. Like people literally come up to me and they're like, "You were a little Christian girl." But anyway, I never felt it. And honestly, we're not gonna unpack a lot of that right now because of that church. But anyway, stopped going. I stopped going to church at Bosque Farms Christian Academy, and I actually moved, and then I got really out of it with God. Like I was not in it with Him at all, and then all of a sudden I had an urge to just get back to jump back into it, but I didn't want to go to church. I didn't want it to be it's me going to church because I was still going to church, but I wasn't in it with God. I was not in it at all, but I was still going to church. It doesn't matter if you go to church or not. You could not be in it at all with God. You could be going to church every day for all I care. Going on Wednesdays, going to brunch with the girls, going to church on Sundays, going to both services, going to night services. You could be doing all of that and you could be not in it with God. It doesn't matter. And then I started to read the Bible and I started to journal and I started to write down what I was learning when I was reading. And then I would pray every morning that I would apply what I was learning and what I was reading in His Word to my life. And then my life started to change. I started to feel His presence when I was in need of it. I started to feel relief when I was having anxiety and I was praying and asking Him to take it away. I started to feel a lot of other things. And it wasn't in a church, it was me by myself. It was literally me by myself asking God for help and actually believing that I was going to receive it, actually believing in somebody. And honestly, I felt a little bit astray, but was still living in His Word. But I wasn't only relying on God, but I was still receiving that from Him when I was in a 3-year long relationship. But I was not just relying on God, I was relying on said boyfriend as well. So that caused me a lot of issues. But I was still relying on God, so I was still receiving what I needed. It was just life was a little tougher because I wasn't just giving to God. I was like keeping some things for myself. And then when I got out of the relationship, I was all about it. But it see, no church, no group. I was sometimes going to a youth group and it was great and I loved it. And if you are surrounded by the right people in the right church, right purple, the right purple, the right people in the right church. Um, if you're surrounded by the right people and it's in the right environment in the right church, it is good to be at church. But if you're not right with it and you don't actually aren't actually trying to listen at church, you honestly don't get anything from church. Because when I was growing up with it and I was just listening to all these stories, I was just like, I don't even give a fuck like about this guy. Like who is this that he's talking about when he would talk about like anybody like I remember those stories obviously because they're like engraved in your brain when you're a kid and you grow up in the church. You get all of these stories like engraved in your brain and you know about it. And like now that I'm like 20 years old, I know what all those stories mean. But are you serious? If you're born into the church and you're getting told these stories at 5 and you're getting told that you have to believe this, you ain't gonna know what those stories mean. You it's like believing is you're literally not gonna you don't care. You don't.
That's why I don't believe as everybody else does. Just because it was pushed on me my whole life through that church. That's why. And the way they bullied people made me not believe it anymore. And it was so old fashioned. That's why people like go to Sagebrush. They see how people donate their money there because they do good things in the community. You have all these small little churches, little money hoggers who use the money for things that they shouldn't.
It's funny that you talk about bullying in that church because my mom got bullied in that church.
My mom, they were gonna fire the board. Were gonna fire her if she didn't get like I forgot what it was, but they were gonna. Oh, I'm just gonna say Mr. Snapper passed by my mom's house when she called out of work, and but like in all reality, it was It was just like bullying retaliation. I'm glad your mom said that. You said that because my mom went through the same thing, and that's shocking because your mom's like knows everybody there since she was a kid.
No, that's facts. My mom grew up with Mrs. Samba and Mr. Samba, and it wasn't necessarily them. She was getting bullied by other people, and that's why she left, and that's why she stopped going to church, and that's why she doesn't necessarily believe in Christianity as a whole. I honestly think that Christianity as a label is not what I am. I'm a believer. I'm a follower. I read the Bible. I pray. I talk to God like He's my friend. I talk to God like He's my go to when something happens in my life. I call. You know how you call somebody, you tell them right away. I talk to God like that, if I'm being completely honest with you. And I think that's why I'm so able to live my life so freely, not have anxiety. I dissociate, but like that's all because that's like the same. And I do get anxiety when I dissociate and have panic attacks, but like whole. I just talk to God. It's like but don't have to go to a church to be a Christian. I don't even think uh, you you don't have to read the Bible every day to be like. Obviously, God wants you to be learning and to be becoming more and more like Him. But some people learn in different ways. I can't like some people can't sit there and read a book every day of their life and then learn from it. Some people have to go out and do things like go and give to people, go and serve people. And that's a work of God. You know what I mean? You don't have to read the Bible every day to be a Christian, be a believer, be a follower.
Yeah. Damn. I mean, excuse my language. Well, I just like, I don't know, I just stopped going to after that, obviously, because I was bullied. I feel like because my mom worked there, they took advantage of that. Mr. Stama banned me from going to McDonald's. Uh, and then he said, and then when me and my sisters went to school there, my grandma was gonna take my sister out of there, and he went one way to my mom's office, she went the other way, and they're yelling at my mom in the director's office. Your mom's. Honestly, you can forgive, but you can't forget. You can silence somebody, but you can't silence the truth. I'm like, yeah, he's dead, but his spirit lives on.
To be honest with you, he was a good man, a good guy to like most like people. Like obviously he treated you and your family like shit. And he treated Candace and her kids like shit. And but him being like my neighbor and living on like my grandpa's and my dad's property, and him basically being a grandpa to me growing up, he didn't treat me and my family like shit, which obviously that goes to show favorites is definitely a church. It's literally a fucking thing. It's no different than praying and worshiping in a McDonald's. It is no different. It is no different if me and you and a few other people gathered in this building and started worshiping and praising and preaching. It's no different. And we could feel God just as much in this bus as we could in a big building full of thousands of people.
I actually want to point this out, and I know this probably sounds bad, but like when I do drugs, I'm more like after I do them, I feel more spiritual. Like when I did mushrooms, I felt more spiritual and like I felt more like religious for a little bit. It was crazy, but like even on weed,
He says for a little bit.
literally, even on weed, like I was smoking weed for like I smoked weed like for the longest time. I was going to sagebrush, and every morning I'd go in at 9 in the morning. I'd smoke weed before I go in, listen to the music, walk out, get sober. Then I'd listen to them. But like, we should tax churches. But like, I'm not saying tear them down. I'm just saying tax the churches. Whose number did you get?
On that note, we are going to catch you with another topic here in a little bit. And we will see you later.
I've been sick and tired, being sick and tired, searching far and wide for something that feels real. I need something that feels real. And I don't wanna lose my soul, chasing after things that don't lead me straight to
Well, that was like a solid like 7, but it wasn't on the mic. Okay, anyway, what were we talking about?
When you turn 18, you're considered an adult, but you really can't do anything until you're 21. And I think that's a big topic nowadays. What do you think?
Yeah, I think what's funny is you can own a shotgun, I believe, at 18, but you can't own a pistol until you're 21. I think that's the law. And then, I mean, you can have babies at any age. I mean, obviously you can't control that, but like certain jobs you have to be 21. In Texas, I believe it's not against the law if your parents allow you to drink as long as you're in their presence. But I don't understand that because it's illegal to purchase alcohol. Some things you could do at 21 or 18 or moving out and stuff like that.
You can honestly move out whenever, if I'm being completely honest with you. I don't necessarily think. I mean, if you move out at an age that isn't 18, you're. I need to find all these buttons, dude. You'll be homeless because you literally can't own a house. You can't rent an apartment. You can't really rent anywhere unless it's your homie's house until you're 18. So these kids whose parents are kicking them out at 13, 14, hell, all up until you're 18, you literally have nowhere to go until you're 18, which is, bull sugar. Ooh, honey mustard.
And then they wonder why their children don't talk to them when they're 18. And when they are like me, I moved out of my mom's when I was 18. I said, bitch, I'm going to my grandma's. And I went to my grandma's and I was so scared to do everything on my own. So moving out made me more independent. So I guess I get moving out right when you turn 18, or I guess when you're ready. And I wasn't financially stable at the time, but I graduated high school. I went to college. I got a good job. I could have never done that if I was at my mom's because she held me back. And I'm not afraid to say that because we all come from shitty ass backgrounds.
That's a good point. Well, honestly, I don't believe that all of us come from shitty backgrounds. I think there's a lot of kids out there and a lot of people out there that don't come from a shitty background, that come from a good background. Sorry. I'm trying to yeah, I know. Okay. I think that there's some kids out there that come from a good background, that don't come from a shitty background, come from things that happen to people. There's kids out there that come from a good home, come from a loving family, come from everything either of us two could imagine. You could imagine a lot of the kids that I know, or a lot of the like adults now, I guess, that I know wish they could have had, but these kids are like, could care less.
that their parents are like that and give them everything they could ever want with the money that they have and aren't treated like shit.
That's called white privilege. Period. As in, or some people like, for instance, ghetto ass cities, for instance, come from people of poverty, like the South Valley. It's like a lot of ghetto, or like Bernalillo. It's like less poverty, so less. Like I mean, like there's more poverty. So the more poverty is, the more crime rates there are. Bitch, what the fuck are we even talking about? I forgot.
I don't even remember what we're talking about, but we were just talking to this guy at the dispensary actually, and he was talking about how he has been talking to this engineer and he has this big plan about hiring the poverty rate so that people like him who you could just become unpoor. What have we been talking? I told you we need to take this guy to Philadelphia, dude. We need to do it. Anyway, he was talking about how he is making this whole engineering thing to make the poverty rate higher so that crime rates lessen, because the people who are in poverty can't buy food. They can't buy the things that they need, the necessities that they need to survive. So they're stealing, they're robbing stores, they're robbing places, they're walking out on restaurants because the poverty rate is so low that they can't pay for anything. And he was talking about how he's engineering this whole entire thing to make the poverty rate higher so that they can actually pay for things and lower the crime rate.
Well, I just thought of something too. First of all, I got lost in the whole damn thing. I just know that he wanted to change the world. He had a vision. He had a vision board, JL.
He dead ass has a vision board. And what was I talking about? I was saying that with this podcast, I want to go and I want to change people's lives and I want to make things possible. We could literally take this guy to Philadelphia and we could change his life. He could engineer that and he could become an engineer and he could get a house and he could have the life that he needs instead of living outside the fucking dispensary, dude. I want to talk about a stoner thing real quick. Stoners always share your weed. He was sitting out there homeless and he was sharing his blunt with us. What?
You can move out at 18, but you can't drink until you're 21. Make that make fucking sense. Oh, 16. But still, most 16-year-olds, even younger, when I was working in the schools, there was kids who were like 14 living on their own. So,
but yet they can't buy an apartment or buy a house. They have to live at a friend's house or at a close relative's house or at somebody who has become their mom. Like half of my friends moved out at young ages like that and had to find somewhere to live with their homies. Like when I moved out, I was literally living with the homie's mom and a whole bunch of homies. Like it was literally 4 guys, me and a mom and a dad.
okay. 6 out of the 10 people that I know hate JL. They always call her crazy, but like I've known JL for the JL was the first person. Like I'm not gonna say names, but but like JL's mom, the JL was the first person our family met at the church, and ever since we've known each other. So for people to say, "Oh, JL's crazy," I just let them say their once they're done talking. I'm like, I've known JL for this long.
That's funny because if Brandon goes out like without me, he comes home the next day and he goes, dude, I met this person. I don't even know what their name is, so I can't even tell you. But they were like, oh my God, you know who JL is? And they talked all this shit and they said all this stuff and they said that we were so crazy. And then I was like, I've known her for like 10 years. And they were like, You
should see their faces because it's like, but people don't know. Yeah, I may not fight, but my words have a lot of power. I know people that you know and that can ruin your life. So if you're friends with my best friend, I guarantee my best friend is friends with your best friend's friend. And get inside sources and ruin your fucking life. I don't even know what the fuck I'm talking about, but basically 6 out of 10 people hate JL for no reason.
Rave. Okay, Okay, anyway, what we were talking about before,
I know that you believe your family views you as a narcissist and all of this bullshit.
What the fuck?
No?
Wrong. It was wrong. And the narcissist, because it's like so true.
But they do, you know what I mean? And you don't like the way that they view you. You may have been that in the past.
Because they're all the same.
I know that you act towards your family a different way than you act towards like your friends, like your true family, like me and Wyatt. And
no, like, I hate how my family thinks of me when I was, 10, 12, whatever,
You know, being a kid.
Obviously, I did math. Obviously, like, I did all those things. Every kid does drugs. Like, your kid, I don't care who hears this, your kid has done drugs.
Yeah.
Pastor kids, teacher kids, I don't know, nurse kids. Your children have done drugs.
Probably are doing drugs.
And are currently doing drugs.
And honestly, if parents
you
were
gotta
more
experiment once.
Honestly, if parents were more accepting of that, like, and allowed it, or was like,
the more you say don't do it, the more we're going.
Honestly, I believe that when you can make a decision as a kid, when your kid finally can make a decision, is coming to you and making decisions about real world things, like, oh, I have a job and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this. They're coming to you and they're making their decisions for themselves. I believe they can make the decision whether they can try weed, they can try cigarettes, they can try alcohol, they can try all of these other things. Whatever, you know what I mean?
I mean,
like,
your parents have said if you don't like you won't like something if you haven't tried it.
If they want to try it, whether you say no or not, they're going to try it.
The more you say don't, that's what I feel like growing up. When people say, oh, don't do it, or they tell me no, I'm going to do it.
If they want to do it, they're going to do it whether or not.
But then we face the consequences, and then we have to learn.
And
not every
if you were more, I believe
crackhead.
that if parents were more accepting of that, their kids would come to them more often when they're on their downfall of that, and they're like, oh my God, I feel like total shit, and I could never, I can't do this anymore, but I don't know what to do. You know what I mean? Or I just want to be on high, like you on shrooms the other day. I just want to be on high. I just want to be on high. I just want to be on high.
That was a good experience. To a point. Mm-hmm.
I didn't know shit about it. If I didn't know shit about it, then you would have been like dying over there.
About it?
What do you mean?
How did you help me? How did you help me get through it? Like,
I was sitting there breathing with you for 2 hours straight.
I said, you're not breathing good
At
enough,
certain points, you were like, you're not breathing right, and I was like, oh, my bad. And we sat there and we breathed again because I thought you were okay, and then my breathing, I would be like,
the more you down talk your children, the more they down talk themselves.
Amen to that.
Period,
sister.
I've actually stopped caring what people think. Some days I care, some days I don't.
I'm happy and I like who I am as a person, so whether people look at me, like, honestly, sometimes I get multiple reactions when I like blurt out that, or like people will be talking, I'll be like, oh yeah, I was at my bus the other day, and they're like, oh, you live on the bus? I'm like, oh yeah, and they're like, some people will give me dirty looks, and I'll be like, I love it.
Y'all should try pot. Half of y'all need pot because, like, our world would be less of fucked up and hated by so many people hate us. And I feel like everybody hates each other and everybody needs a little bit of weed.
honestly, half the people that hate me, if they came over here and they had a smoke session with me, they would never fucking hate me again. And they would never talk shit on me again unless they're fucking jealous. Which, honestly, half the people who talk shit about me are literally just fucking jealous. So, actually, there's no point in them coming to smoke a blunt with me. Because why would I share weed with somebody who's jealous of me?
Do you want to name names or?
Well, we can we can just lay that out on the table right here. If you turn your head and rear around and see a group of 10 people, I bet you 6 out of 10 of those people fucking hate me.
Mostly 6 out of 10 people here have fucked. The people these days, like, most of the time, everybody in this city, teenagers, or below us, all know each other and they've all fucked each other.
I can happily say that I have not fucked that many people, but that many people do hate me.
You know, this makes me wonder how many people are actually going to listen thoroughly through this podcast, because we sound a lot better. And people are going to actually, I feel like because how good we talked out first, there's going to be people that you know that you would not think know this. And they're probably going to think the worst of you now. But like people who hang out with JL know, and like JL works hard. She maybe work 1 hour at Olive Garden a day every now and then, but she makes her money and she has a vision. I mean, she works on this bus 24/7. I mean, just yesterday, she painted, and the day before we painted, and like so. But mostly, I just wanted to point that out, Jail, that there's gonna be like people. I have because I'm going to share this. I'm definitely going to share this. I'm going to put this one on my big old spotlight. I'm going to shine on the people. So, I ain't scared. Like,
Are you like trying to say like there's a lot of people out there that like aren't gonna know me, and then they're gonna like think the worst of me because I'm saying like 6 out of 10 of those people hate me, but and then you were like, if you hang out with JL, you know that she works hard. Dude, I can't even hang out with people because I am always doing something. And if I'm not doing something, I'm either out here trying to set up this podcast shit, trying to like record, trying to figure out what I should do, trying to figure out how to get things out there, because all I want to do is make people's lives better. All I want to do is be motivational and to like make people's lives better. I want to go out of this world knowing that I changed somebody's life. That's all I want. And I'm always working. And if I'm not doing like working on something, I am hanging out with my brothers.
that is true.
If I'm 35 and I don't have a mentality of like a 10-year-old sometimes, I don't want to be alive anymore. I shouldn't be here anymore. Because I'm no longer having fun with my life. We were meant here to be fucking robots. Would you like to be a robot at 35?
No, but I just think of this place as renting it out. I'm just here to stay, and when my lease is up, my lease is up.
Yes. Amen to that.
I don't know. I love this podcast. We're gonna put you on hold, and we're gonna be right back after the break.
Actually, not going to be right back. But we'll catch you
Where'd you
up.
go? What now we found?
Oh yeah,
Where'd you go?
Uh,
Where'd you go?
doing a happy dance. Doing a happy dance.
Where'd you go?
Doing a happy dance. Yeah.
Where'd you go? What'd you do? How the hell you made me fall in love with you? And then you leave, now you're gone. All I got is this damn song, so I can feel, but I can't touch you. Said my love was a bit too much. Broke my